Hello friends, Danny here, and this is No Clickbait. We've got a new bike ridden for about 200 miles or something like that. No Clickbait, we have 3 parts on this video for you. Number 1 is for all the bike owners who have their housing and the shifting cable routed through the upper headset bearing. So if you have the headset bearing right here and it goes through, you need to do the service on the new bike. Believe me, you're gonna save a lot of money. I'm showing you what's happening with this bike right here. Number 2 is for all those Canyon owners who have this system preventing the handlebars from hitting the top tube. You might have some problems with putting the pressure on your headset bearings, which means you've got a play on your headset bearing. This is a little dude, you need to know what to do with it. So that was number 2. And number 3, if it's already too late for your upper headset bearing, I'm gonna show you what to do in order to save time, or at least if you're gonna give the bike to the workshop and ask them to replace the bearing, give them these couple of tips. It will be much, much cheaper. So let's go. As for the first part, see, there was almost no grease on the new bearings on this bike. Of course, these are nice, high quality, sealed bearings. I don't care. I see the water and even mud just staying right here on the surface, upper surface of this upper headset bearing. It's already rusty. It's already rusty all around here. You don't want to have that, because if it looks like this after a couple of weeks, after a year, it will be trash. Not only the bearings will cost you some money, but replacing of those bearings with this problem is even more costly. So what we need to do is to remove, this is the lower bearing, this is the upper one. I cannot remove it completely because of those cables, but I can at least move it around, clean it and grease it. Do it if you have this type of internal cable routing. All right, my lower bearing is clean, the upper surface of it is greased. I also greased this part of the fork. There is also a seal here, but the water goes through onto the bearing. And so this is not maybe also the best seal right here. And I've also put some grease here on the head tube. I know there will be some discussion about putting grease on carbon and not painted carbon from the inside. Will it be swollen after, I don't know, a couple of years? I don't know. I can tell you one thing. I had no issues so far with it, but I had other issues. If there is no grease here, you put the bearing right here, it will be rusty and the rust will make the bearing swollen. Then it's difficult to even remove the bearing from the frame. Unfortunately, even removing the upper bearing failed. So I need to put it back together and then just clean and grease it from the outer side. Oof, I was able to finally put it back in, grease, seal, and assembly. Moving on to the second part about the play on the headset and this little thing. It's time for the lower bearing. Tak, o. Teraz to. Oof. Okay, here is this little hole. This hole is not for additional housing, like for dropper post, let's say, cable. This one will loosen that little protection, that ring around the steering tube, which protects the top tube. So when you want to put compression with this key right here, you need to loosen this bolt, and this bolt. When this stays tight, you're not gonna be able to put compression because, of course, it holds on this ring holds on to the steering tube. All right, now it's clear, I hope. With the wheel installed and the bike on the ground, we're gonna do it. The wheel straight. Now we compress the bearings. No play. Now we tighten the stem around the steering tube. Now I'm checking the safety thing, okay. It works. Now we can tighten that ring with 4.5 Newton meters. Okay, the third part. If you already have this upper bearing busted and you need to remove it, important thing, don't disconnect anything on the caliper side. So don't go there to your brake and disconnect the hose and guide it through the frame and back. No, do it right here. Disconnect this one. You already have one hose here. Then disconnect your cable, shifting cable from the derailleur. Remove it completely so that you have this housing free. Then you have two, right? Then you can remove the stem. Then you can guide the upper bearing through those two sticking housings and you can guide the new one. Then connect the shifting cable. Guide the shifting cable. If your shifting cable is fried, you need to do it with the new one probably, or cut the old one. And then you connect your hydraulic hose back into your brake. Probably you're not gonna have to bleed the system. Probably you just add a couple of drops of the oil back into the reservoir and that's it. So whether you do it yourself or you do it in the workshop, ask them, are you going to disconnect it on this side because it's quicker? Some workshops will be doing it for the first time, so make sure you give them those tips. That's it, it's done and ready to ride. Thanks for watching, see ya.